It's Tuesday night, so you know what time it is. Want some takes and predictions on the upcoming women's ice hockey season? How will the women's soccer team fare against their first conference matchup against the Monmouth Hawks? Can they recover from last week's loss? Plus, is volleyball finding their rhythm at the right time? It's the Battle of the EPs on Bobcat Breakdown, which starts right now. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Studio 125. I'm your host, Dylan Summer, and I'm joined by the former Sports Pause EPs themselves, analysts Ethan Logue and John Surratt. How are you guys feeling tonight?
Well, Ethan, I'm super glad to be on desk with you tonight. As you were my associate producer when I was executive producer, happy to see you make that jump up, but I'm not happy with you tonight. You're going down tonight.
Yeah, the master and the apprentice, but as we know in every story, the apprentice always wins, so I'm sorry.
We'll see about
sorry
that.
about what I'm going to do to you tonight.
Okay.
Looks like there's already a little tension there. The Quinnipiac women's hockey team faced off last Saturday in an expedition match against UConn. The Bobcats came out victorious, winning the game 3-1. With the fans back in the stands and ECAC hockey just around the corner, what are your guys' expectations for the Bobcats this season?
John, if you don't mind, I'm going to start this one off. I was fortunate enough to cover this team last year. The shortened season, only 4 teams, including the Bobcats, competed in the shortened ECAC hockey season. The Bobcats, you had Colgate, St. Lawrence, and Clarkson. Now, granted, Colgate and Clarkson are 2 very good teams, and the Bobcats, they played well against them, but you're going to get more teams in the mix and better competition and a more normal schedule. Princeton, Harvard, Cornell, they're all coming back, and they were all top 10, top 15 teams in the country when they played last in the 2019-2020 season. So this year, it's going to be tough for the Bobcats. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be really, really tough. They have a lot of returning players, though. They got a lot of key pieces. They got Lexia Gia still, Logan Angers, Kendall Cooper, who's coming off an all ECAC hockey first-team selection last year in her first year. And you also got players like Olivia Connickson, Taylor House, and Renee Saltness coming back, who were granted an extra year of eligibility after their shortened season during the pandemic. So a lot of change, but there's a lot of similarities coming back, a lot of people returning. But right now, I think if I had to make a prediction, I think they will fall in the ECAC hockey semifinals. There's just too many good teams.
Yeah, I mean, with that, I'm going to have to agree with you. I think they're going to surprise this year and be near the top. As you mentioned, the teams that didn't play last year, that's an advantage for these Bobcats coming into the season. They got the experience that those teams didn't. They got a year. Those other teams got a year off. That's, a huge difference maker in my opinion. You talked about the returning players, 10 seniors and graduate players in all. That's a lot of experience coming back. They're getting in 6 new first years as well, so that's a lot of inexperience, but I think Coach Cass Turner can bring and mix in the youth and experience together. And you saw in the UConn win to come back and make a run in this ECAC hockey.
You're also seeing the return of captain Olivia Connickson and defenseman Zoe Boyd, who both missed most of the season last year. So 2 key pieces for the Bobcats on the defensive end.
Definitely.
With 6 first years now joining the team and Maya Labad already scoring her first goal as a Bobcat, which freshman do you guys think we should keep an eye on this year?
So you went first, I'll go first this time. So Maya Labad, as Dylan mentioned, that's my first year to really watch out for. Again, as Dylan mentioned, she scored her first goal in the UConn game. It was exhibition. She's also got an assist as well, but she's also was Team Quebec and Team under 18 in Canada before coming over. She looks like she can bring solid rotation into the forward rotation for this Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team and some scoring depth that they desperately needed.
I'm actually going to go with her Team Quebec and U18 team candidate, teammate Anne Frederick Nod. She was actually the one who set up Labad on her goal, but there's another key player to watch out for also is Kate Hegelson, who scored 57 goals and added on 86 assists in just 3 years, 3 of high school hockey in Minnesota, which is the self-acclaimed state of hockey. So like you said, you're getting a very strong first-year class, 6 first years coming into the mix. And as we saw in the exhibition game, they're already making an impact, scoring a couple of goals and making a lot of great plays.
And you talk about scoring goals. They brought in 5 forwards, but they brought in the sixth one was a defenseman,
Yep.
and Mia Labata. So I think she can also come in. We didn't mention her, but I think she can come in and provide some defensive help as well that they could also.
Bobcats are going to have a lot of candidates for the all ECAC hockey first-year class team.
Definitely.
Great takes, guys. Let's move on to the women's soccer team. Flashing back to last year, the Bobcats lost to the Monmouth Hawks in the semifinals by a score of 2-0. Now, the Bobcats travel to Monmouth for their first MAC game of the season. Guys, what are your predictions for this Saturday's game against the Hawks?
I'll start this one off. I know the Monmouth Hawks are a great team. They've obviously had a ton of success in the MAC in recent years. But I'm picking the Bobcats. There's no bias there. I think the Bobcats are going to win this game. They've had a great start to the season. They're 5-1, but they're coming off a loss. It was to Columbia. It was only 1-0, but they're coming off a loss. I think they're going to bounce back. I think David Clark's going to have a good bounce-back game. And the Hawks, they've kind of struggled out of the gate. They're 5-3. They lost to Iona in their first MAC game. It was in overtime, but a loss is a loss at the end of the day. I think the Bobcats will take this game. They will bounce back, and it will be a big statement win as they open up MAC play.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to agree with you there. I do think, Monmouth's on a 3-game losing streak. I know Quinnipiac, that was just their first loss, only 1-0. Columbia, they didn't play last year, but they went 9-4-3 the year prior.
Solid team.
Very solid team coming into the season. So I do think that even though it was one loss and not in conference play, I do think it's still a 5-game winning streak before that. I think they come in high with revenge coming against this Monmouth Hawks team that they want to show that they're the best team in this MAC conference this year after not being able to finish the deal last year.
Especially after not scoring a goal against Columbia. I think the offense, Rebecca Cook, Selena Salas, they're really going to be ready and willing to go. So I think we're going to see a good game for the Bobcats this upcoming weekend.
The Bobcats were undefeated until their loss to the Columbia Lions this past weekend. With MAC play getting back into motion, where do the Bobcats stand in their conference?
Well, I'll start off this one. Again, they haven't played yet. Some teams have in the MAC, but I do think that at the end of the day, right now, they're still near the top. Even though they haven't, I do think once they come out and play Monmouth and they win, as we both predict, they're going to show out and see that they are still the top. So I really think that at the end of the day, that's where they, 17-4 goal differential going into the season. I just think really going into the MAC play this year, they're going to show out why they're the top.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. It's just really tough to say where they stack up in the MAC, seeing that they haven't played any games against MAC opponents. It's really just going to depend on how they play Saturday. Even if they lose it and it's a close game, I really do believe, I agree with you. I think this team will still be near the top of the MAC. They had a great shortened season last year, and they're just always a team that you've got to watch out for and you've got to be prepared for to make a run. But as of right now, we just haven't seen anything. There's just no evidence or really any proof of how they can play against MAC opponents.
5-1.
I'm just saying against MAC opponents. I'm not saying we've seen what they can do as a team this year. They're a very good team. We know that. That's a fact. It's just we haven't seen anything against MAC opponents. And that's the question. How do they stack up in the MAC?
But how do you think that's going to translate? That's how I think it's going to end up.
No, but the question is, how are they going to stack up again? How are they going to fare in the MAC? How are they, after their loss to Columbia, how do they look in the MAC? We don't know because
I think you're taking the easy way out here.
No, I'm saying they haven't played any games. That's a fact.
Correct.
So we don't know. I mean, there's no evidence of how they play against MAC teams yet.
All right, well,
it all comes down to this Saturday. That's what it's going to come down to.
If they win, how do you think?
I think they're going to be near the top.
Okay. All right.
Is it just me or is it getting steamy in here right now? All right, well, that wraps up round one with women's hockey and women's soccer. We are going to take a brief commercial break, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, it's on to round two of the former EPs. And we are moving to the courts. Stay tuned.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on, man, let's put a ride home.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. It's here. It's here. Wait. What? I can't drive.
Why? My. Oh.
And we are back. Thanks for sticking with us. Let's get right back at it. So far, the field hockey team has had trouble with finding their spark. However, it seems that the tides are starting to turn after a close battle against the Temple Owls. First-year standout Emilia Massarelli scored 2 goals in the game, when previously they only had one goal on the year. The Bobcats were able to send the game into a penalty shootout where they ultimately lost. Guys, do you think things are finally starting to click for the field hockey team?
You know, John, I had the pleasure of talking to my former co-executive producer and current field hockey beat reporter, Ryan Coop, about this question. And he thinks things are starting to click a little. I mean, we can see it in the tape. We saw the highlight last night on Sports Pause. That was a beautiful goal by Mazzarelli, taking it the length of the field. But I think the tides are starting to turn a little. You're seeing the Bobcats defensively transition from defense to offense more smoothly, and you're also seeing players such as Jess Halley transitioning from defense to forward, and that's helping the Bobcats out a lot. So you're seeing these improvements and changes in the Bobcats offense and the way they're being able to transition defensively to offensively, and things are starting to click. Things are starting to come around, and we could see some big East wins coming up.
I do agree. I think that, what they showed in that game looked a lot better than any other game, only 1 goal throughout. But Temple is not the best competition in the Big East comparatively. So, and they still came away with the loss at the end of the day. I do think, it sparks something, but their only wins are probably going to be against a team like Temple. So I don't know how much of a spark you're really going to get out of that type of game.
Would you say things are only starting to click offensively? Because, I mean, they doubled their goal total in 1 game.
Yeah, I would say offensively, but just overall, like when they go up against the Big East team, the better Big East teams, UConn, you can keep going. They're still going to struggle. I think they might be able to compete a little bit, get the confidence back up, coming off of the spring season, shortened season. But I think still they got to show a little bit more than just coming away with a loss and 2 goals against Temple.
They're building confidence. That's really important. But like you said, the Big East is a very tough conference when it comes to field hockey. You've got teams like UConn. It's just going to be tough. But I do think things are starting to click, even if it's just little by little.
Let's switch over to women's golf. Last year, the team went all the way, winning the MAC championship. It would be the Bobcats' 3rd conference title in the program history. They already are off to a hot start after defeating Fairfield. However, do you guys think they'll be able to run it back?
So I'll start off with this one. I do think they'll be able to run it back. On their previous match against Fairfield, they went 29 over, where Fairfield went 41 over. And then earlier today at Boston College, they finished in 6th place, putting them third lowest of the field. And, they also really didn't lose anyone. Elena Ybarra was the only major loss senior, but everyone else coming back. Darby Littlebridge, Elena Lopez, you could get going with how much senior leadership this team has, how much experience. They got the Barstool tournament last year as well. They got experience there competing with some of those top teams that we saw in the tournament. They didn't fare that well, but I do think at the end of the day, they're still the best MAC school.
I think the only way this women's golf team, doesn't repeat as MAC champions is if you become their coach somehow. Because,
Okay.
I've seen your swing.
Okay.
It's a little
All right.
rough. I'm sorry.
We had to do that.
This team has everything still. They got Leanne Peralta, who, just every week it seemed like would just rip off MAC Player of the Week awards. She placed first at the MAC championships, really led this Bobcat team to victory, and her head coach said she's the leader of this team. And like you said, they didn't really lose much, and they got a lot of good depth. They got a lot of great new additions in first years. You got Fu Zhang and Meg Yoshida. Both have come on, performed really well in their young Bobcat careers, and I just don't see a way this team doesn't repeat as MAC champions.
Yeah,
they just have too much. They just have too much. It's an embarrassment of riches in a sense.
You can say it. I really don't see how they can falter this year unless something happens throughout the season. And, golf's a weird sport. Sometimes things don't go your way, but I do think they'll still be as consistent because they are a team at the end.
And you mentioned the Barstool tournament, and we talked about it a little pre-show. I said, yeah, they struggled and they didn't really place as high, but they're going against some of the top golf programs in the country.
For
You got Texas, Stanford, and they matched up well against them, and they still perform well. So I just don't think this team doesn't win the MAC championship.
Sounds like they're going to go back-to-back. Now it is time to head over to the courts. It has been a rough start for the volleyball team as they struggled during invitational play. But with MAC play back on the Burkon court, they show that they are still dominant. They swept the St. Peter's Peacocks 3-0. Do you guys think this big win will boost their confidence as the season gets rolling?
I don't know about you, John. I would say absolutely it does. Any win you can get, no matter at what point in the season, it'll boost your confidence. That's just how it works. That's just sports in general. You take as many wins as you can get. And you see Coach Kyle Robinson, this team, he's really led this team from the gutter to really prominence, actually. You saw this team 2 years ago. They were low in the MAC standings, and they made a run in the MAC playoffs, lost in the MAC championship game to Fairfield. But this team, with Kyle Robinson as their coach, I really think at any point they can make a run and really go far.
I'm going to have to disagree with you. It was against St. Peter's. They did get the sweep, but St. Peter's is near the bottom. I get it's their first win.
Any win builds confidence. That's
But then
the
they
question.
came away and lost 3-1 to Rider, and they didn't fare well against out-of-conference opponents such as in Maryland against UMBC Maryland. I go on. They didn't fare well there. They need to show they can compete with these top teams. They showed it last year when they beat Fairfield that one time. But besides that, they barely made it, or were not one of the top seeds in the MAC tournament.
So you think that win against St. Peter's did nothing for their confidence? Nothing.
Not much, I will say. It was something.
It did something.
Okay, something.
That's
It's
my
not,
point.
Okay.
That's what the question
all
is.
right, one for one. You got me there.
Yeah.
But so it's a little bit of a confidence. It's not as big as what I think you're thinking, though.
Okay, that's a fair point, but you also have to take into account Kyle Robinson. Earlier in the year when he was interviewed by volleyball beat reporter Eric Kerr, he mentioned that at the early on in the season, the wins aren't as important to him. Obviously, you want to go out and win. That's not what he was saying at all. But it's more about getting better each week and building up. And so when you get wins like that, when you win 3-0, that's going to build confidence. And yeah, it didn't carry in against Rider, but it could carry into other games.
All right. Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
It looks like Ethan got the best of you there, John. After 2 games in a row, the Bobcats now have a long road trip ahead of them. They'll be away for the 7 straight matchups. How many wins do you guys think they'll get in this stretch?
All right, so we saw the stretch. I'm going to go with 4 wins. I do think they're going to beat St. Peter's again, beat Siena and Marist. And then we talked about Fairfield. I think they're going to find their number again at Fairfield. I don't, the other 3 throughout their stretch, as Canisius, Rider, and Niagara, those are top teams. I think that they can fare well against Fairfield this year and beat them in that road stretch.
It's just a tough part of the Bobcats' schedule. 7 games on the road. That's tough no matter how you spin it, no matter who your opponents are. Even if they were 7 straight games against St. Peter's away, it's really tough. I also have the Bobcats going 4-3. They're playing the top 3 teams in the MAC: Canisius, Rider, and Siena. Or excuse me, Canisius, Fairfield, and Siena. And it's just going to be tough. I do think actually they will beat Rider. I know they just lost to them the other day, 3-1, but I feel like they'll have a good bounce back game and find a way to take them down.
Yeah, I mean, we could see it definitely, but I just don't think that, Fairfield will look pretty dominant. They did get one set, but throughout,
it's the top 3 teams in the MAC. That's just a tough opponent.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a tough schedule no matter how you
It's going to be tough. I do think that when we talk about confidence, I do think if they get a few wins throughout that stretch, like we're saying, it would build a lot.
I think it's also, if they come back with a winning record from that 7-game road trip, 4-3, 5-2, 6-1, hey, 7-0 maybe, they could make a run. They could really make a push for that top MAC spot. You never know. You never know. With Kyle Robinson coaching, you never know.
Well, we'll see.
Well, you heard it here first. This battle has been something else. We have one last quick commercial break. Stick with us. When we come back, it's time for QBSN's Game of the Week and, of course, Final Roars. Don't go anywhere.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Joe, spot on this last one. There it is. Keep going with it. Leo.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job.
I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working.
I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. We are almost to the end of our show, but we can't leave without doing the QBSN Game of the Week and Final Roars. So let's get right into the QBSN's Game of the Week, which is the Quinnipiac women's ice hockey game this past Saturday against the Yukon Huskies, where Kendall Cooper, Olivia Cognizant, and first-year Maya Labad would all find the back of the net. The goalies also played lights out throughout the match, as they only allowed the Huskies to 1 goal. The team put on a brilliant display on the ice and gave their fans in the stands something to look forward to. We can't wait to see them back in action for ECAC hockey play. And now, it's the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for Final Roars. Ethan, take it away.
Thanks, Dylan. Following the 2020-2021 shortened season that only saw 4 ECAC teams compete, Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team will have to quickly readjust to a season with a full, normal ECAC hockey schedule. With teams like Princeton, Cornell, and Harvard being back in the mix, the strength of the Bobcats' schedule will improve drastically. But if any team can make fast adjustments, is a Kask-Turner coach team. The Bobcats are returning one of the few teams that has actually had a competitive ECAC hockey game in the last year and a half, and is also returning key players in Lexia Gia, Logan Angers, and Kendall Cooper, who was named to the ECAC preseason All-League team. The Bobcats will also get Zoe Boyd and captain Olivia Connickson back from injury, as both missed nearly all of last season. And finally, the Bobcats will bring back Taylor House, Renee Saltness, Connickson, who are all graduate students and have been granted an extra year of eligibility from the NCAA as their 2019-2020 season was cut short due to the pandemic. The return of key Bobcats from last year's team, a strong first-year class, and with Cass Turner behind the bench, this Bobcats roster has what it takes to make a run in a very stacked ECAC conference.
932 days. That was the last time fans were allowed in People's United Center. On that day, the Quinnipiac men's basketball team beat Marist 71-52 on March 1st, 2020. What a different world we live in now, as it's been a long time coming, as fans were back in the stadium for the women's ice hockey exhibition game over UConn. That is a long time for these students and student athletes to watch Quinnipiac winter sports. This has impacted everyone across campus, and although fans have been at outside events at either the soccer stadium or the softball and baseball fields, having games back at the People's United Center and having fans back in there is no other feeling. The athletes needed it, as just the mental, physical, and emotional toll playing with no fans had a major impact on athletes everywhere. I think when athletes go out there on the ice or the court, there will just be a new sense of resurgence all across the board, and having fans back can help everyone feel a little more normal.
The men's soccer team is on fire right now. It is the first time since 2007 where the Bobcats have won 5 straight contests to start their season. Leading the team in goals is forward Brog Austin. He has 3 goals on the year, and all of them have been game-deciding goals. Thomas Vicula and David Bercedo also are continuing where they left off last year. Together, they have a total of 9 points for the team. But the most important player to this team has to be the sophomore goalkeeper, Andreas Hadji-Gavriel. Coming all the way from Cyprus, this back-to-back MAC Defensive Player of the Week has quickly made his mark. He has 3 shutouts and 21 saves on the year, not to mention his 95% save percentage. With him in the back of the net, the Bobcats are in good hands. Head coach Eric DaCosta has done a great job of getting his players ready for the quick turnaround, as they are one of the 6 remaining Division I programs that have not lost or tied a game yet this year. Now they face their biggest challenge yet against the number 9 ranked New Hampshire Wildcats. As long as they continue to strike on offense and stay strong on defense, then I believe they will be ready for the toughest of competition. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for tonight. It was the battle of the former UPs. To stay up to date with all our content and all things Quinnipiac sports, be sure to check out our website, q30tv.com. Also follow us on Twitter at Q30Sports. From the producers, everyone behind the scenes, to my analysts, Ethan and John, and myself, your host, Dylan Summer, we thank you for watching and see you next week.